Hey everyone, I was going to save this video for tomorrow, but I decided to show off my DS games tonight. I probably don't own the most in the world, or the most of anyone, but I think I have a rather sizable collection. So I'm going to do this alphabetically, list them off alphabetically, and I'm going to start with Advance Wars: Days of Ruin. This is a very good strategy type game. My dad played a similar game on his PC back then called Panzer General 2. If you're into turn-based strategy games, this is a very good one. I've not yet beaten it yet. Not the greatest tactical mind. And I don't like Advance Wars as much as Fire Emblem, but I'd still recommend this. The only downside to it is it doesn't really add anything new other than a grittier story than the previous entries. You know, grittier world, and more realistic characters. Doesn't really add any innovative gameplay elements like the DS entry that came before it. But I'd still recommend it. Speaking of the game that came before it, that would be Advance Wars Dual Strike. I have not beaten this game yet either. Whoops. Getting out of focus again. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I have not beaten this game out as well, but it's still good. I'm probably going to try to get back into it one day. See if I can get a little farther. It does add... It does add some neat gameplay elements that were not found in the first entries. But well, some of those elements included stuff like having team co-op battles, being able to take control of two CO, and having like battles on the top screen of the DS. So, another game I'd recommend if you like strategy games, just like games in general. Next up was my first entry in the Castlevania series, which is Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow. I really like this game. I've mostly played the DS Castlevania games, and I have to say this is probably my second favorite of them. Well, if I had to pick favorites, I really wouldn't, but if I had to, I'd say it's my second favorite. It's of course, if you don't know about it, it's the Metroidvania style, which I actually prefer. The basic style with the kind of stilted jumps and slow, and the lack of weapons and the harder difficulty just don't really get around. I mean, I'm a wuss. But anyway, if you haven't played it, I recommend it. Next up is Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, probably my third favorite in the series. They added some pretty good elements into it. There were some interesting elements, anyway, like the glyph system, and replacing usual weapons and abilities. It was unique, probably not well executed, but this is still a great game. I'd recommend it. Then comes the third DS entry in the Castlevania series, and my favorite, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. I like where you get to play as two characters. The number of abilities you get and the weapons you get are just outrageous, as well as the enemies you fight, the number of enemies you fight, and the amount of secrets in it, and the dual crush attacks. The combined attacks when both Jonathan and Charlotte attack. That's the name of the characters in this game. Anyway, highly recommend that game. And the next game I think you should be familiar if you're a big RPG fan, especially from the Super Nintendo times. Chrono Trigger. Not only is this this is a really great game. If you've not played it, and you haven't, shame on you. Shame on me for not playing the Super Nintendo version, but hey, got a second chance with the DS game. Damn it. It was thanks to K-Wing, I was also learned how to I was able to learn how to beat the final boss with ease. Of course, I was stuck at another boss on this and didn't play it for a while, but after my dad died, I picked it up again, played it, and finally beat it. Next up is Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. This is probably my least favorite entry in the Fire Emblem games. And so I think the biggest problem with it is that they tried to go back to the classics too much. You know, like having like two types of units, being your playable blue units and your red enemy units. And just having like a limited set of options and such. Though I do like the idea of reclassing characters, that's pretty cool. But other than that, and the lack of support conversations, unlike in the previous entries that I played, just not that. It's still a decent game. I would recommend it if you're a big fan of Fire Emblem, but other than that, solid. It's decent. Next up was a little prize I got from the Club Nintendo. The first Game & Watch collection. It's a game, it's got. Well, it's only. I was thinking that I was first thinking this was going to have every Game & Watch game on it, but nope. They only have 3. Oil Panic, Donkey Kong, and Greenhouse. The only games on it. Oops. So I probably wouldn't recommend it, but it's a decent prize. You just quick little playthrough. Same can be said for the other game, but I do kind of give credit to a WizWar 100, or Lazy Work Creations as he's going by now. I do owe him credit for recommending this game for me. That would be Geometry Wars Galaxies. I also own this on the Wii, but I think I like the DS version a little better because of the DS controls. Great shoot 'em up. Can be very addictive. I haven't played it in a while, but I've been busy with other things. But great to play when you're trying to kill some time. Next up is probably the second most recent addition to my DS collection, Golden Sun Dark Dawn. Can't see where I rank this among the DS games. I'd probably rank it second. It's pretty good. I'd say better than the first one, though it doesn't captivate me as much as The Lost Age did. But it is a great game. I think the summons in it have better animations than they did in the first two games thanks to the DS's graphics. And it's a pretty solid RPG. I haven't gotten the hidden summons yet, or the ones that you have to get by beating bosses. But I'm gonna go for it one day. Next up, Kirby Canvas Curse. I really like Kirby. I have not played every Kirby game out there, but this is a really good one. I recommend it. And I never got to play the first Kirby Superstar until Virtual Console, but before that I did get Kirby Superstar Ultra for my DS. Great game, and some purists would probably say that the Super Nintendo version is better, but I actually think this game is better. This version is better, not only graphics and music wise, but also because they add more content, added more games to it, and that equals more fun. Next up is The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass. I actually, when it comes to the canon for the Wind Waker series, I think I like Phantom Hourglass better. Unlike K-Wing, I am a big Zelda nut. Or I became that way after I played Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Got this cough today. Ugh. Anyway, I would recommend it. Especially recommend it over the game that came after it, which would be Spirit Tracks. Spirit Tracks did do some cool things, I will say, that and did do some improvements over Phantom Hourglass. But I would say that it is inferior. Next up, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. This is probably my favorite entry in the Mario and Luigi series, bar none. Great game. The game before it, however, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, is probably my least favorite, but and it took me a while to recognize it, but it's still a great game. I would recommend it. It takes a while to get used to the gameplay elements, especially with the babies. Yeah, the Mario babies. Anyway, this video is probably going to be a little too long, so I'm going to wait to post the next part in just a little bit. So, see ya.